Find your body, find the ground. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I invite you to take a breath with me. And let something go. Notice any resistance to slowing down the momentum to something that has a slow start. And just channel it all into a nice deep big breath in through the nose. Filling the belly, filling the chest. Letting something go, softening. One more like that, a nice deep breath in. Filling, arriving here. And now any amount, curious, open, any amount. You're finding yourself drawn to this video, and let's see what's here for you. So, what I want to talk about today is, it feels like a very big topic and a very deep, multi-layered, multifaceted topic. So, like anything, we're just gonna hold it all really wide and really with a lot of curiosity, spaciousness, there's full permission here for you to take what resonates, take what doesn't resonate, let it percolate, chew on it, blend it with your own internal wisdom, with the wisdom you've been gifted and granted by your teachers and your lineages. We're weaving it all together. We're weaving together tradition and collective consciousness streams, beautiful collective consciousness streams over the history of all, along with, I guess what I'm going to share right now, and this component that's so essential and cannot be skipped, which is your direct connection to all that is, to source, to wisdom, to truth. You have that as strong as me or anyone else. So just presencing that and inviting that to be here and online for you to run it through your filter, percolate with it, chew with it, work with it, because it's all of our truths, all of our wisdoms together that are allowing this flowering of awakening, of the expansion of consciousness, of the more and more layered expression of source, of the creative impulse. It's a little abstract and obtuse, but whatever, that's what we're going with. So one of the things this topic, it's really, I guess at its heart about good and evil. About good and evil, about evil, about good and evil. And a lot of us are getting this awakening, this upgrade, up-leveling, that is the power of releasing victim consciousness. Taking responsibility for our lives and the things that we're creating in our lives. Like, yes, these things have happened to us. Yes, maybe there were perpetrators, it felt like, on some level, or some very actual level, or some energetic or emotional or collective cultural level, like things that influenced us, that maybe affected us negatively, that made us feel like victims, like we were perpetrated against, and suffered because of. Which, that is an important stage, because it's on one level very real. So like, we get to let that be here, as long as it needs to be here, and you may be evolving beyond it in like 10 areas of your life, and then like holding on to victim like deeply in one area. That's like normal. That's fine. You know, like, I really invite us all to be as gentle and compassionate with ourselves on the journey as we can, and like just kind of allow the ripening of that awareness that like we are the creators of our reality, and we, regardless of what happened to us in this present moment, have the capacity to take responsibility and begin to create something different for ourselves. We have that much ownership, that much capacity, that much creative potential within us to create our lives consciously and powerfully, beyond and outside of the systems around us. We have a lot more capacity for that than we realize. The collective obviously also matters. The systems do affect us. Just gonna hold it all really wide, holding it all really wide. So, if we could agree, without like, you know, I could do a whole video on victim consciousness, and I guess this video kind of is that, but say we just pause it, like, okay, we are evolving beyond victim consciousness, and that pendulum of victim perpetrator, you're either the good guy or the bad guy. Like, the bad guys do bad stuff to the good guys, and it hurts them and fucks them up. Like, okay, we're like putting that paradigm to rest. We're breaking it open. We're evolving beyond it. We're expanding beyond it. We're holding it as a piece and like expanding beyond it. And I see a lot of people on board with this and integrating it and working with it and growing from it and creating a lot of rad shit from it. Like, I wouldn't even like call myself the most evolved in this arena. Like, I'm really working through my own victim consciousness regularly. It's been really powerful for me, and I can see like, oh wow, look at these people who've done this work, and they're really killing it. Good job, guys. Lighten up that path for us. But this place where I feel like I see us getting stuck, or where I want to like bring even more openness, or I have a curiosity, is like, it's like on this macro level. Like, I see even teachers that I like really respect their wisdom and their level of awareness, like mind blown by their level of awareness, seem to be showing up in this like, there's a spiritual war on kind of energy. And in that spiritual war, they're the good guys and the bad guys. And they've kind of like, the bad guys are sort of evolving. Like, for a minute, their bad guys were reptiles and the reptilians. Some people might be making alien agendas, the bad guys. Luciferian, devil, like fallen angels are the bad guys. The richest people on planet Earth are the bad guys. There's bad guys. There's bad guys. And these bad guys, whoever they are, bad people, bad beings, bad, the perpetrators, we'll say, in this narrative are like, they're trying to block or stop, this is the story, they're trying to block or stop the ascension of consciousness. Like there's some agenda of like consciousness is expanding, planet Earth is waking up, like we're evolving. There's some destination, and like the perpetrators, the bad guys, the evil is trying to stop us. There's a spiritual war on. And I hesitate to throw the whole concept in the bin because I admire and respect so many people who hold this belief. But I can't help from wanting to like question it, just wanting to like get in there a little bit and be like, hold on, okay, hold on. Like, yes, maybe if I tune in to like, is there like an evil agenda? Does it feel like, you know, there are things that are blocking me or benefiting from me not being in my light, not being in my greatest love? Like, does it feel like there are things holding me back? Yeah. Does it sometimes help when a teacher says, like, look, there's some agendas out there that want to keep you small. Look at how they're getting in. Look at how they might be holding you back. Where are you playing small? Like, that's been helpful in certain moments. I'm like, oh, okay, if that's happening, like, what are those whispers? Where is that in me? Where is that keeping me from my light? So there's like a usefulness, expansion, clarity that can kind of come from these types of narratives. Protection is the other thing that feels alive right now. Is this the right time to talk about it? I'm going to pin. I'm coming back to protection. Spiritual war. Good guys, bad guys. Evil agendas. Evil alien agendas. Evil reptilian agendas. Guys, it's fucking victim perpetrator consciousness. Right? This thing that we decided on this micro level of like, okay, if I want to get out of my codependent relationship, I need to stop making my partner the bad guy and start seeing them for the expression of divine love that they are, earnestly, deeply trying their very best in every single moment, and to whatever varying degrees coming at me wonky based on their trauma, which, by the way, I do the exact same thing. Right? So it's like we're evolving on this micro level, and we seem to have like growing collective agreement, at least in certain communities and certain energy bands, that's happening, right? Like, okay, we're making them the bad guy, and therefore they're the bad guy, and therefore I'm in this victim perp dynamic, and like I evolve beyond that as I see the love in this person, the love in myself, and really deeply acknowledge like we're both doing our very best in any given moment, and they're not trying to hurt me ever, consciously. You know, that doesn't necessarily mean that we stay and go deep with every single person. It may be that like the marriages of certain trauma energies and trauma bodies are too intense, are too overwhelming to be worked with in this moment or this lifetime. So, you know, getting out of the victim perpetrator dynamic in a micro sense, you stop making the other the bad guy. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're still the one for you, or they're the one that's meant to be in your life in this moment, right? They're not the bad guy. They're not hurting you on purpose. You can see them for the loving human being doing their absolute best, given like a set of challenging circumstances. They're not the bad guy. And as we break that open, you know, we may evolve together, we may evolve separately, but we put down that victim perpetrator, we put down that good guy, bad guy, and that's how we open our hearts, evolve, and actually get to have a partnership with somebody that's not a bad guy or a bad girl or a bad woman or whatever, like, because we're not making the other bad. We're evolving beyond that consciousness, and like we're starting to get, like I said, on this micro level an awareness that we have to evolve beyond victim perpetrator. And this spiritual war, it's like, to me, it's just a projection of the same victim perpetrator energy. And it's like, it's got all of the same bits, right? So like, there's some usefulness, there's a reality to it, right? Like I started out saying at the beginning, there is a reality to the victim perpetrator layer of consciousness. There is a reality to the spiritual war. There is a collective consciousness that we are creating that's making a spiritual war. We can actually, we create bad guys, we create evil agendas through our belief systems, through our collective belief systems, through the projecting out of our fears, our own internalized perpetrator, which we all have. And we're just creating more of the same. I feel like there's this macro layer of the victim perpetrator story that people seem reluctant to surrender. And I think it's multifaceted, as I said, because there are lessons to be learned from it. That, like, if we throw the baby out with the bathwater too soon, we will miss. For instance, and this is something I've done, because in my path, in my heart, in my psychic whatever, I've always seen it's all love. And like, really, like, we hear that, like, nothing exists that is not source. Nothing exists that is not love. Nothing exists that is not the one thing. And it's like, we can espouse that all day and then have an evil alien agenda. And you're like, that doesn't work. It's all love. It's all love. And I've always felt that, like, if we really believe that, and we really carry that out in every direction, in all the thoughts and all the things, right? We don't get to have perpetrators in the same way. Because there's this understanding that it's not about consciously attacking you. I had this funny story coming in as I was preparing for this video, like, that's relevant to this, like, part of my being that was like always holding this, like, but wait. I went to Catholic school for many years, former Catholic school girl. And I was that kid in religion class in like 6th, 7th, 8th grade that would be like, okay, explain this to me again, sister, whatever, right? There were nuns. Not, my whole school wasn't nuns, but the nuns generally taught religion class, which we had. I remember so clearly being like, God loves us unconditionally, right? Like, you're telling me that God loves me unconditionally. He loves me unconditionally. Like, cool. That's nice. I'm pretty stoked about that. Wow. Like, what does it feel like to like let that in and let that be here and be like, hell yeah. There's this source being that loves me unconditionally. But if I fuck up a little bit, he's going to send me to hell? I thought he loved me unconditionally. Hold on a minute. Like, what do you mean if I don't follow these rules and live this certain way and deny parts of my being that supposedly are unconditionally loved? I'm going to hell? I'm going to like burn for eternity in misery? Like, I was a kid, you know, I wasn't even a mom yet, but like the mother to child is like the closest you can get, I think, or parent to child maybe, to like unconditional love on this earth. And like, there is nothing my son could do that would make me send him to hell. I mean, there's nothing any being could do that would make me send him to hell, but like, the logical inconsistency of like unconditionally loving God and getting sent to hell by that God, like, never sat with me. I was just like, fuck this shit, you guys have it wrong. Like, no, that's not how that works. Like, unconditionally loving God does not send us to hell. And I feel that like same logical inconsistency in this like love is all there is, source is all there is, non-dual reality, and like evil perpetrators. Like it can't be that there are these like non-God forces that are bad guys like attacking us, when like in the ultimate, which I feel in my body, is that we're all one. We're all the same shit. There's one creative source energy. So all that's here. We're like making a soup. But I can hear you, and my own mind is like, but Rachel, there is evil. Have you watched the news lately? Have you seen that people are out there doing really fucked up shit? Really fucked up shit. Yeah. It's weird. It's weird. Like how, like if we zoom out, you know, from the emotionality of it, like how dark it gets is so intense and weird. Like, you know, you can feel within your own being, right, that you've got some dark and some light. You know, there's dark shit in here. Like one of my darks is, especially before I was a mom, I would occasionally, when with pregnant women, think about kicking them in the belly. Like it would just flash in my mind. I, of course, never assaulted a pregnant woman. But I would get these visions, like just brief flashes of like, I could kick that belly. Like that's fucked up. That's fucked up. Like that's dark. That's dark. That's some dark. And then we have other kinds of dark that we let out. We have socially acceptable dark, like killing bugs, you know, like roach poison and roach spray and rat poison and all the things that we just like we socially acceptably kill in like massive ant killers. You know, you kill like 1 million ants in a minute with ant poison. Like, you know, we've decided that ants are a killable being, but on another level, like that's dark. This is dark. And I'm not here to judge anybody. That's why I share the bit about being a pregnant belly attacker. Like I have the dark. We have the dark. You know, and I guess I just sit in inquiry of like, how do we evolve beyond the dark? How do we integrate the dark, work with the dark in more conscious ways that are safer for all beings? I don't think the dark's going anywhere. I think we're gonna have to learn to integrate the dark, bring the dark into greater awareness, and allow it outlets that are creative and safe. That's probably a whole other video. So the spiritual war is one of the ways that people explain evil. And it's like, here's how we're going to get rid of the horror that we see. We're going to fight it. And, you know, that's in the past been like the good guys come in and liberate in a war, you know. The bad guys. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah. So the spiritual warriors of today have I think better tools, better approaches. They're like you know, spiritual warriors are trying to wake people up as a way of eradicating evil, which I don't disagree with. I think, you know, this is why I don't want to been the spiritual war completely. I think that the spiritual warriors have good tools. I just wonder if we're slowing ourselves down by continuing to hold this frame of good guys, bad guys. Okay, so all of that's the background for what I want to share. I'm sharing what I want to share. This is something that I wrote this morning that I wanted to share. I'm not really sure what's going to come through, but I'm just going to share it. This is something that I saw really, really clearly not so long ago. I sit with these ideas a lot, and essentially what it showed me, what I was shown, what my opened my awareness to, was the source of all evil is the wound of separation. The source of all evil is the illusion of separation. And again, these are ideas. Filter them through your own awareness, filter them through your own wisdom, weave them with your own wisdom. Share with me your thoughts and your wisdom. I don't have the answers. I'm not writing in pen here. I'm bringing to the collective soup what I feel, what I see. The source of all evil is the wound of separation, is the illusion of separation. So we come to planet Earth. Here on planet Earth, perhaps we agree to forget who we are. So we leave the undifferentiated, is what we would call it in, I think, quantum physics. The soup that is like undifferentiated matter, unmanifested matter. And we come to planet Earth and we forget that we are of all that is. We forget that we are God and that we are made of God. And that's separation. That's this illusion that we have here in this 3D plane that, like, I'm not God. I'm this. This intense thinky thing. I'm this collection of thoughts and emotions and legs. I'm not God. I'm just this fragile, mortal thing with pain in me. And I believe that this illusion of separation is so fundamentally, profoundly, bottomlessly scary. To be, or imagine yourself to be, alone in this world, in this universe. Like, if we actually feel into the wound of separation, which is just like, I'm just this tiny little being, mortal, fragile, alone. It's scary. Like, you can see my physiology as I start to tune into that. My belly's kind of clenched. My shoulders are starting to hunch in. It's like a squeezing in. There's like I gotta protect myself because I'm so fragile and I'm just my little old me and I'm alone. There's nobody here to help me, and I'm alone. And to feel alone in this universe, in this world, in this planet is scary for our systems. Especially as there's like, I'll just leave it at that. And it's so like scary and bottomless and intense and lonely that we sort of unconsciously and spontaneously draw others down with us so that we're not alone. I'm alone down here. It's scary as hell. Like, let me show other people how we're alone and it's scary and like draw them in. It's like I'm scared in this state, and so I'm going to bring other people into this lower state with me so I'm not alone. This is also what I feel like the contagion or the power of the pain body, you know, this like darkness in us, this pain in us, when it awakens and it comes out, it's like if we're dysregulated or we get activated or triggered, that energy is very magnetic. It tends to oftentimes activate, trigger the pain body, the hurt, the unconsciousness in others. Unconsciousness is contagious. It tends to draw people into its lower vibration. I had this download around how this is kind of like the source of organized religion. It was just like this magnetizing of like, we're alone, we're sinners, we're not safe, we, you know, and like at some point the illusion of like this God outside of us, this like power in the sky that's morally, you know, arbitrarily judging us, became like the hook to pull people in. That's kind of a big one. Okay, so we're just gonna pin that one. So, illusion of separation. It's very scary on a fundamental level to feel like we're alone here, and there's like a unconscious pulling other people down into the pit of fear with us so we don't feel alone. But this does not solve the problem. It doesn't help us feel less alone, because now we're all alone in our misery together in the dark. It spreads it, right? So pulling people down with us unconsciously doesn't solve the problem. It spreads it, and a spiral of darker darkness goes down and pulls more and more into it. So there's this like wound of separation, pulling more and more darkness, creating more and more darkness. That gets a momentum that starts to create the permission and the expression for like real toxic, real bad, real toxic, dark. Like if it started with a bunch of us just sitting around the fire being kind of like scared and pulling each other in, it's like, okay, now that fear starts to spread out into like, there's not enough here, and if I don't kill that person, I'm not going to be able to eat, so I'm gonna do that because I got to take care of myself. And then I do that, and then now there's some fear. My neighbors are afraid of me because I killed one of them to get food, and now we're warring with each other, and like, and that spreads, and that grows, and that gets projected out onto more and more macro levels, and people start to make choices out of scarcity and fear, because they're so disconnected from the truth of who we are. So what I want to say that feels very edgy is that this is by design. I'm not going to say that, I don't know, that Source like consciously was like, I'm going to create some fucked up genocides today. But the like there's something about like the plane of duality, like moving from the undifferentiated, which is infinite ecstasy, to the 3D, to the duality plane, right? Spiritual teachers often say that this is about consciousness knowing itself. And I feel this, like if you feel into being in the undifferentiated, if you feel into being source creator, all that is, like, you want these playgrounds of duality, of 3D, all kinds of playgrounds, because you want to like experience ice cream and sex and pain and blood and redemption and forgiveness and longing and loss. Like, you know, it's like like that undifferentiated. It's so beautiful, and it's just this one dimension. It's basically one dimension. So there's this like calling forward of like, let me create and let me differentiate, let me come out and like be in these different settings with different conditions. So the like depth of the spiral of the darkness dictates the height of the spiral of the light. There's a equal and opposite here. And the light knows its greatness. The light knows its greatness in this plane of duality and separation. The neighborhood just got all noisy. And take a breath. This is dense. This is dense, y'all. Is anyone still watching this? Doesn't matter. So, what do I really want to say here? Darkness is a part of duality. It's a part of the 3D. It's a part of being manifested. Certainly on this plane, on the earth plane, you know, there might be other 3D manifestations, planets, planes, where there isn't duality, where, you know, we just frolic in fields of wildflowers with ice cream all day. But here we have the light and the dark, and I think that certain things serve us in making the dark bad. It certainly helps us to understand, because it's like, how can genocide not be evil? How can things be so twisted and there not be like some kind of evil alien agenda? But when we really zoom out and we really apply our spiritual principles, I feel like that's where our gateway to more peace and higher expression is. Evolving beyond victim consciousness on every level, including the macro. Honoring deeply that we have light and dark within us all. Dark, dark, and light, light. Not making that bad or wrong. The more we can own it fully, embrace it all fully, and learn to work with it consciously and intentionally, the higher the vibrational expression of that full range will become. So, there's so much more to say on this, but it's like just kind of like pulling that a tiny bit further along. Like, we learn to work with our darkness intentionally, to own that we have pieces in us that want to like kick pregnant ladies or hurt someone who's hurt us or kill animals, you know, ants and roaches, and we begin to meet and greet and learn about those places in us, learn about their desires, their motivations, their fears, their longings, and like bring them to the table. Give them healthy, loving, conscious, clear, safer ways to express, you know, which can come out through dance, through sound, music, through breaking things and hitting things that aren't going to be hurt by you doing that. Through wearing something dark, through making weird faces and sounds. BDSM, like through exploring massive pain and inflicting pain, receiving pain, dominance, submission, and exploring those energies in containers where there's enough consciousness that they can be played with, explored, allowed, without causing harm. Yeah, these types of things, which again, we can talk about more. There's so many things I could go into greater depth on in this video, but that's going to help us evolve, ascend, reduce the amount of horrific violence that we see around us. I guess there's two other pieces. There's the piece that like, this also feels very edgy, so I'm writing it in pencil, but on some level there's no morality to it. Because again, there is nothing that is not love, and there are things happening that we can't understand about consciousness and about the creative impulse. And like, if we really pull our own limited view out to unlimited, to like infinite time, infinite space, what the creator actually is, infinite, like the full range is going to exist in that. All that exists, all that could be thought of is going to exist. And that includes ecstasy and the greatest intimate beauty and flowers and ice cream. And it includes genocide, torture, rape, like gnarly. Because it's infinite. It's everything. And like on some fundamental level, that's okay. Like, I'm not saying it's okay, like in our little 3D worlds, because like we have the heart, and like the heart has morality, and thank God it does. And there's a lot there that I want to touch on another video. But if we zoom out to the experiment of the creator of all that is, of infinite all that is, on some level, that piece, that thing, that entity wants to know itself in all directions, in all time and space, and all everything. It wants everything. Everything is allowed. Everything is okay. And as much as we might clamor for and desire ascension, and project that desire onto the human race or onto planet Earth or onto other beings, like there's this clamoring for all light. There's this clamoring to transmute it all into what we think of as love. And that's a beautiful journey. I'm on an ascension journey. I want to live in more peace and more love. I have a deep longing to eradicate my own violence and to contribute to peace and love in the world. Like, yeah. And some souls aren't there. Some souls aren't on an ascension path in this lifetime. And that's okay. That's also us. We've played all the roles. We've played all the roles. We've played all the roles. And for whatever reasons that we can't understand, living lifetimes where you are asleep, living lifetimes where you're in violence, is something that the Creator chooses. And it's okay. and getting some amount of nervous system comfort with that truth, with that okayness, with that like wider perspective will serve us, because then we can come forward in service to love, not because we're afraid of darkness, not because we can't stand the fact that there's violence here, but because we love love, because we love beauty, because our hearts are drawn to care for others and to be in peace. And we are evolving to the awareness, the point of consciousness that we can express our dark, express our shadow in ways that don't harm others. That's the evolution. Learning to express our darkness, our depth, our shadow, our full range in beautiful ways that don't harm others. That's integration. That's like, darkness isn't going away. And it's not because there's an evil agenda. It's because it's written into the duality of this game. This is, if anyone still here, send me a fucking message, because I'm dying to know what you think. If you're as interested in these ideas, that you're like willing to sit here through this, and maybe you sat with it in a couple of sessions. I honestly don't know. I'm just really trying to like honor my wisdom and my call and my purpose. The last piece that I want to name, and I'm like, is this too much? I don't know. If it's too much, pause and come back, or whatever. It feels important. For a long time, because I understood this on some level, I'm definitely expanding my awareness and teaching it, sharing it right now is also expanding my awareness, which is cool. Living your purpose really serves you. Because I had this understanding and these downloads, I was kind of living it in this really expanded way, like a non-dual way almost. Like, there is nothing bad, there is no evil. I don't have to worry about all these 3D things, because I'm God and we're all fine and we'll always be taken care of. And I let the spiritual understanding or the spiritual plane kind of pull me away from the 3D reality. I guess this is what spiritual bypassing is. I mean, there's a lot of layers to spiritual bypassing. And do a whole other video on that. So I let that it's a beautiful idea. Like, evil doesn't exist. It's like, oh, anyone perpetrating evil is in pain and unconscious and worthy of love and needs love, deeply needs love, deeply did not get the love that they needed from the beginning of their lives. Like, oh. And really allowing myself to go there is beautiful, and I encourage it. But, like, we also are 3D beings. We are living here and now. We are on this plane right now in this moment where there's some gnarly shit out there. The way that darkness is expressing, though it is still source energy and love, it can affect us. It can affect us. It doesn't have to affect us, but it can affect us. So don't forget to be in the 3D. Don't forget to honor the duality, that like the non-dual exists and the dual exists. We've chosen to be here, and so we have to be here. If we want to feel good and thrive and be safe, we have to be here. And that means sometimes that we need to protect ourselves. For a long time, because I was against evil alien agendas and this idea that we need to, that there's evil and bad guys, I was like, I don't do protection. I don't need protection. And protection might even be the wrong word, but it's this willingness to take good care of our beings. This permission to really deeply like honor the truth that all beings are love, and like in this moment, in this expression, the way this being is showing up doesn't feel good to me, and I'm gonna walk away. I'm gonna put up an energetic barrier. I'm gonna use my voice to say I'm a no. I'm gonna walk away. I am going to honor that, like, spirit to spirit, I know who you are. And in this 3D reality moment, I'm a no. And it's okay. And it's actually essential to honor that truth of my being. To protect myself by saying no to the things I'm a no to the energies, to the people, to the words, to the conversations, to the places that don't fit my vibe, that ding up my ship, that make me feel yucky, that I have to like rest and recover after interacting with, that are siphoning my energy and my light, that are distracting me, you know, like things that after you interact with somebody, maybe they're in your head for a couple of days, or maybe there's some fear that's lingering, or just it's important for our own self-care and well-being to protect ourselves, to be aware of how things affect us, and to be a no when we're a no, and to honor that no, and to use the power of our creator consciousness, of our inner protectors, of our inner guardians, to say like, no, I'm a no to this. It doesn't work for me. It's not serving me. This isn't about burying your head in the sand, but it is about taking good care of yourself, because allowing other people to pull us down, to siphon our light, to like let unconsciousness pull at us, isn't serving. It's not serving the collective. It's not serving your being and your purpose for being here. So it's not about protecting yourself from the bad guys. It's not about being a warrior, although again, those terms I think have value, and I'd be so curious to talk to somebody who would want to like go deeper on that. I'm very curious about it. Holding that all is love does not then mean that we don't get to or need to take really exquisite care of ourselves. It's like, you know, eating foods that make our bodies feel alive and regenerative, foods that were grown nearby in beautiful soil, versus eating like commercially chemically laden foods. Like, it's okay to be fully in the dual, where certain things don't feel good, and to navigate away from those things. That feels really important. So I'm glad for those who stayed all the way to that download, and probably that's one to share more about in another context. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your open heart, your open mind, your curiosity, your willingness, and I so welcome your feedback, your questions, your wisdom.